Buongiorno, it's Francesca Elisabetta. Many of you know me, but if you don't, I have a website called Travel from the Inside Out, and I run Senior Women Travel Club on Facebook. I also have Travel from the Inside Out - Italy and Europe on Facebook, and each group has a different objective. So if you want to easily follow me, you can follow me here on the YouTube channel, Travel from the Inside Out. Click subscribe. I'll get more regular with the videos, but right now I'm managing a lot of things. Or you can find me much more active in the Senior Women Travel Club on Facebook. And you don't have to be a woman to be in that group. It's kind of funny because that's the title of that group, but my other group is the one selective that I do keep women in, and I screen the people harder, which is Travel from the Inside Out, Italy - Europe. So I want to talk today about how do you choose a city or a village to live in Italy. I've been getting a lot of questions. Had a young lady who is about to turn 70, asked me about that. She came on the trip and she's like, well, how would you even choose where you want to stay? Well, for me, my addiction with Italy started in 1996, and it was an obsession that wouldn't stop. And then I traveled all over. I went to all over Europe, backpacking with my oldest daughter. Then in 2001, I gave birth to my youngest daughter. So that obviously I had to slow down. I think I still actually was traveling when I was pregnant. She had a passport at 3 months, but with a baby, you got to slow down. But I was married at the time, so I did have assistance in getting around with her. Once I became divorced, I had an emergency open heart surgery that had complications and put me in disability. And that allowed me to leave the country and choose one place to live full time, because it also became harder to move around so much. So I've got a notepad here with some of the ways that I made a decision. So I'm going to tell you how I did it. Now, in reality, my clientele and the people who follow me, I'm 61, I'm going to be 62 in January. They're not going to be able to go back and do what I did. You're not going to want to. That's the issue, is I was young. I was 33 through 40 when I was doing all this. And then I think the final decision was 43 or 44 when I chose Spoleto, Umbria as my hometown village. So, I can see where you're not going to want all of this. And that's part of where you could hire a travel coach to help you, someone who really knows Italy, not a travel agent, a tour guide, and things like that, but somebody who really knows Italy. And you invest in private coaching with that person to help you work through figuring out where you would want to stay. And even then, it's not a right or wrong, because you can choose any one village and it can be an absolute fantasy, and then one little thing go wrong while you're there, which something will go wrong, and then all of a sudden you don't like that village. But then you have to realize it was a cultural issue, and each village has even stricter cultural issues than the village next to it. So there's Italian cultural issues, and then there's regional cultural issues, and then there's even village cultural issues, and you just have to get a different mindset. So one of the things that I did was I bought on my travels several of these large paper maps, because I'm a paper person more than a computer person. It's my generation. And I would go in on the maps and I'd circle Florence and Rome, which, let me write that down because I'm going to take notes. And then I had a train schedule book that was, I don't know how I got it. It was in Italian. They probably don't have them anymore, but it listed all of the direct trains into Florence and all of the direct trains into Rome. So then I had all my, like I still do, my colored highlighter pens, my Sharpie fat pen. And I had a notebook and I started listing out the criteria. I had kept track of all the cities that I had been to, which I had been to a lot. And then I would also, because I'm Italian and I have Italian family south of Rome, I would periodically sit down with them once I organized my information and would share my information with them to get feedback on their perspective of some of these Italian villages. And the truth is, some of it had to do with the pricing, because the pricing for apartments could be all over the board, you know, depending upon whether it was a highly touristy place, even being a Hilltop village, a desirable touristy small village, the rents could be really expensive. So the list I had was the train schedule. I then had, here they are, Rick Steves' Italian book, of which I go in and I rip out the chapters and I put clips on them. And that was my way, and still is my way, of traveling for notes, because I don't want to carry the whole book everywhere I'm going out for the day. So I just rip out the chapter, stick it in a Ziploc baggie and carry it in my purse. Have it highlighted in pen if there's some things in particular that I want to try to remember that we're going to do. And those were the 3 physical things. Now, I did have the computer back then, but the internet wasn't as sophisticated as it is now, and wasn't like our life support line like it is now. So Rick Steves' book, train schedule, and in and out of Rome and Florence, an Italian map, very large map, highlighter pens, and writing those down so I can remember these notes, because at some point I'm going to make a PDF, free PDF, that if you email me, I'll be able to send this out as a freebie. And then I had, obviously, the notebook, like a diary of everywhere I had been. I knew right off the bat, the first criteria that were non-negotiable is the village had to have a train. I wasn't going to be buying a car or renting cars. I didn't have enough money to pay for taxis. And the truth is, a lot of these places, sometimes taxis aren't even present. So that's not even an option. Or the bus schedule is not consistent at all. And in that case, you would need to have trains, and an active train, because some of the villages, they call them milk run trains, and milk runs means that I must have been in some period of time or day and age, they actually had the guy riding the train with milk and dropping the milk off at the different cities, and they would only stop and stop and stop, and somebody would be there to get the milk, and that's sometimes how the villages got the milk, so they call them milk run trains. And all right, I'm taking notes as I do this. I wanted to make sure that the city had a school. That was non-negotiable. And I didn't want a too big or a too small, which, being a New Yorker from the Bronx, a lot of them looked small, but in reality, you can have tons and tons of buildings horizontally stacked on each other in a village, but there's very, very low occupancy. Or you could have really full occupancy. And then with that too big or too small, I wanted it to be safe, because I had a small child I was moving there with. And there's an issue of, is it a live village or a dead village? And I didn't want too alive, and I didn't want too dead. They talk about a different level of dead, which is dead in the winter. So there are some villages that the village almost comes close to shutting down in the wintertime. It's icy, it's cold, it's freezing. The very few cafes that would be in the village limit their hours. The restaurants, you know, that's another indication, is look at how many, that now that I know this, look at how many restaurants are in the village. Restaurants and cafes. I didn't know that then, but that would be a direct indication of, even if there's not a lot of people living in the village, there's some kind of tourism or traffic coming in that causes them to be able to justify having a good amount of restaurants. I also, this was a non-negotiable, I wanted authentic. I didn't want a village where everybody spoke English, and there were tons of expats, because I knew by default you're going to hover towards the person that speaks your home language, whether you like it or not, and then you don't get an authentic Italy. And if there's tons of tourists or expats, excuse me, they tend to sit on top of the surface. They'll know the people, periodically get invited to do things, but they're always hanging out with each other. Therefore, their Italian doesn't get expanded on. Their Italian remains very limited in growing, and their ability to hold a full, intimate, reciprocating conversation. Sure, they can order at a restaurant. They can ask if there's something they want to buy. They can go to the bathroom. How are you? But if they were to sit down and have a full hour-long extensive conversation with an Italian, the majority of them don't understand the conversation. They'll miss all kinds of details. They'll kind of grab certain words and make an educated guess of what they think might have been being said. But I didn't want to be in that type of environment. And those were the starting. And then as I started circling out in different colors these potential cities where I wanted to live, I started doing more research. Did they have any type of festivals? Were they safe? This one is one that, don't laugh, but my Italian family didn't want me going to places that they knew had a higher mafia level. There was a couple of places that I wanted to live by the beach. That's what I wanted. I wanted to live by the beach. And I ended up in Umbria. My Italian family just kept pushing me to go up north, because I was going south from where they were, which is south of Rome. And they just kept, get up on the map, Francesca. You're going to get in trouble. You're too outgoing. You're too friendly. And I was, a lot younger than I am now. And I've dated plenty of Italian men. They said, you're lucky you'd end up dating a mafia guy, and the next thing is you'd be knocked off. So no, not knocked up, knocked off. So they wanted me to stay out of the South, and particularly areas that I was looking at due to mafia. And I also needed a school for my little daughter. At the time, I hadn't thought of that. I was planning on, I got mosquito bites on my ankles. Sorry, you guys. I was gardening yesterday. I was planning on homeschooling her, but I had such a difficulty after the heart surgery with complications. It just became apparent that she needed to go into public schools, and my Italian family pressured me to do that, and it was the right decision. And she grew up in the entire school system from preschool through finishing her 13th year of high school, because Italy is 5, 3, and 5. 5 elementary, 3 middle, and 5 high school. So that's 13. And she graduated with going to 2 specialty high schools, Liceo Classico e Liceo Artistico, which is the art school. So in her 5 years, she did 3 years at Classic and 2 years at the art school, which is a really lovely blend. And let's see here. I also wanted it to not be impossible for my family from the South to come up and get my daughter, that if I were to suffer another medical emergency in this village with a tiny little 5-year-old, 4-year-old, I wanted them to be able to come and get her and take her from me if something happened to me. So I also wanted a Buddhist group, and that is how I worked on this. So here's the deal. I'm 61. If you're following me, you're going to be at least 50. There's a high probability you're 60 to 75. Do you really have the time to do this? No. Do you have the energy? No. Do you even want to do this kind of work to figure this out? No. That's the truth. So that's where I come in. Through my nonprofit, travelfromtheinsideout.org, I can assist you in doing travel curation. I do an interview process to find out what you want, and I ask you key questions. It is a service that is paid for through the nonprofit. You can either choose 1 hour, 3 hours, or 5 hours. You know, I'm going to say that although I could make suggestions and wrap it up in 1 hour, in reality, if you're really thinking you're going to be staying there extensive, I think it would be probably more like a 3 hour. So what would happen is we would start with an hour and then I'd give you homework assignments, assuming you wanted the homework assignments. Otherwise you make me do the homework assignments and that comes out of the travel coaching. And you come back with what you liked, what you didn't like, what did you find? And we go through the process of trying to help you figure it out. Now, one of the things is with the Best of Italy's Hilltop Villages cultural experience, 10 nights in a 4-star hotel centrally located in a small hilltop village. We take 6 day trips. So you have the village that you're staying in, we'll do that, and then you have 6 day trips. Within those 6 day trips, 2 days, there are 2 villages. So in reality, the Best of Italy's Hilltop Villages, you get to see 9 villages. And that is a starting place for a great conversation. Besides going, it's a foodie tour and we get to see artigiano, which is artisan little shops with, I didn't really think there was shopping when I took the ladies, but my God, the ladies found tons of shopping and they absolutely loved these very specialty, handmade, affordable, high-end, unique gifts for people and themselves, clothing and scarves and shoes and things like that. Not, I just didn't realize, but I guess because I've lived there and I've shopped all these stores and I've seen all these things, I'm kind of desensitized to it. But they actually had a little shopping frenzy. And the food, I book all the restaurants in all these villages. And it's really a wonderful time to get an intimate look into the villages. And when you get this intimate look, you come back and you kind of go, wow, all right, well, I can do a comparison. I really, really loved Cortona, but even from Cortona to the train station to take the public bus is not the easiest thing. It's probably 30 minutes, not because it's far, it's because it's the road goes like this and then it's got stops and you can from Cortona get to Florence really easy. But there's other villages, Montepulciano, actually, I'm not even sure where the train station is for Montepulciano. I know where the buses are, but then you have to go down again. So some of these become a little bit of a fiasco, but usually you end up loving living in your village. So I hope that helps, ladies. And if you want to know more about the Best of Italy's Hilltop cultural experience, you can email me at travelfromtheinsideout@gmail.com. travelfromtheinsideout@gmail.com. And I'll get you on my email list. I'm having a special, excuse me, in September, early bird special for the first couple of ladies that sign up with a deposit. They'll get a substantial amount off the tour, non-refundable deposit. The tour is May of 2024, so next year towards the end of May, but the deposits are taken right away, and then we'll look for the first 50% payment in November, and the second final balance payment, I think, is either the end of January or early February, somewhere in there. I don't have it clear yet. So email me, and meanwhile, go to Senior Women Travel Club. Put those words, go into Facebook, look for the question mark search engine thing. So you're searching and put in Senior Women Travel Club, and you can hit groups and hit search, and the group will show up and then ask to join. And then once a week, Facebook just sweeps you in and lets you in. And that way you'll get access to me for easy chatting. Okay, bye you guys. Have a great day. Ciao.